and then in the roundtables we'll discuss some of these issues. And as a kind of a proposal for how a government might want to have to start thinking about this, there's this idea of a T-shaped policy, meaning that you need a strong internet sector. And most countries have a Ministry of ICT and a regulator that's responsible for the internet sector. And you need great depth in that to cover all of these roadblocks that we discussed, to get everyone online, increase bandwidth, affordability. But you're not going to create an internet economy just on the basis of the Minister of ICT and the regulator. You need the entire government, across the government, thinking about digital issues. Right? So if you want to have mobile money, you need the finance minister to be working on mobile money issues. If you want agriculture online, it would help to have the Ministry of Agriculture, the Ministry of Health, Education to develop the skills. So that's why there's this idea that you need great depth in the internet sector to create the platform, but you also need all parts of government thinking about how to bring their own part online and take away roadblocks to their sector going online. So with that, I'll just conclude. You need the internet sector, as we talked about, to help create the platform for the internet economy, and what are the pieces to develop a strong internet sector, and what policies are important. And you also need this internet economy is critical to bring all parts of the economy and government and social services online. What are the key pieces to doing this, and what policies are important to create the internet economy, to create the kind of growth we looked at the beginning, where the entire economy is growing based on being online, trading, and having access to the internet. So on that note, I will conclude. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to some comments now and throughout the day, input from the roundtables and the other speakers. Thank you very much.
Michael, could you leave the last slide on with a question, so maybe we can use that as a basis for our discussions? Thank you. Thank you very much, Michael. I'll open up the floor for about 10 or 20 minutes so we can discuss perhaps some of the questions or any comments or questions you might have for Dr. Kende. Yes, please. State your name. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Tato Mfikwe from South Africa, Gauteng chapter. My question is around digital ecosystem. How would you best advise, how would we actually ensure that we've got digital ecosystems that are able to be effective in our local communities? Because we can recognize different players within the digital ecosystem, but when they need to now transpire, that's where we find some challenges. How would you advise that we can approach the digital ecosystem itself? Thanks. Yes. Digital ecosystems that will lead to the digital economy itself, to ensure that different players like your community, your business, government, civil society, they all work together to provide the solutions that should be available on the internet economy. Thanks.
There we go. Yeah, I think that's the critical question. I think the first point, just like 10 years ago when we started thinking about the first billion, second billion, third billion, I think the first thing is awareness of how critical it is to bring the whole internet economy online, and why that's where your growth and all those numbers that I showed at the beginning. I think that's very important. I think it's going to be different in every country, but I think the countries that have been most successful are the ones where the policy is driven from the top, like here in Rwanda, where the president is very, very conscious and very active in ensuring that Rwanda has a digital economy, and then they can make sure that the rest of the government is active. So that's from the top down. Then the bottom up, through Internet Society and other activities, bringing awareness, bringing people online, the training that Internet Society has been known for doing here for 15, 20 years to not just focus on individuals, but also start thinking about what are the roadblocks for small businesses to go online.
Pierre, please. Thank you.
Good morning, Pierre D'Angino, ICON. Thank you very much for this presentation, and much more interested by the your question about what policies are important to create internet sector. In that regard, I would like you to share any ideas you may have on funding the internet economy. We know that most African countries now understand what to do. They do have some policies, there. But I think one of the issues they are facing is how do you really fund this economy? Because it comes with some sort of resources as you need, and you need to strike the right balance, between the private sector, the public sector, and some of them certainly are not finding the right way of doing those things. So, what can we share about this issue? Thanks.
That's a great question. So of course, I kind of divided things into the internet sector, which may need some funding through a universal service fund or to make it universal, and then bringing the internet economy online. And the hope, and I think that more study needs to be done on this, but a lot of it can be self-funded, right? I mean, if going online and starting e-commerce increases your sales and your business, then hopefully it will pay for the equipment and the training that's needed. That's an open question. I think this is an area that really starts to need to be studied. But I think that a lot of the numbers that eBay puts together of what the success that their small businesses have once they go online and start selling through eBay show that a lot of it can be self-funded. Of course, the government can create the platform, the money system, the digital skills training that can help bring people online, but hopefully a lot of it would come out of the increased revenues and the cost savings. That's the hope, and I would think that a lot of the studies would show that, but it's really an open question that needs to be studied, and hopefully we can say it's not that expensive because it can self-fund for many businesses.
Any other questions or comments? Yes, please, sir.
Okay, my name is Simba from Zimbabwe. I want to pick your mind on the issue that when you said the government should be brought on board, does that not expedite the regulation and over-policing of the internet economy before it fully manifests in a country? Is there no risk of stifling innovation through regulation if you engage the government from the get-go?
I think absolutely. I mean, I think that's country by country. There's different examples, but let's take the example of mobile money. Arguably in Kenya, the government did something that they might not have realized that they were doing at the time, but by not doing anything really allowed M-Pesa to grow and flourish. Then you can argue other countries saw how successful it was, and everyone started wanting to get a piece of that money, and now it's been harder in other countries to recreate the M-Pesa success. So in those countries, arguably, the government could remove roadblocks. In some countries, I think the finance ministry is imposing roadblocks on behalf of the banks. So it's not a satisfying answer, but it really depends if they're removing the roadblocks, which is what we would hope, creating the platform, or if they're creating additional barriers to protect the incumbents in terms of banking, for instance. But I think in some areas it's indisputable that digital skills are going to come from schools and should start early, as we saw yesterday, and the government clearly has a role in that.
Excuse me if I may speak in French, if possible. Okay. Nous voyons dans notre pays.
I'll speak in French. In our countries, for instance, in Senegal, when we promote the internet economy, we create inequality, especially inequality in access to internet. When there is inequality in terms of connectivity, there is automatically inequality in terms of access. These choices, therefore, at this stage and under those circumstances, is it a good thing? Now, regarding policies, the number of engineers who are technically trained locally is not sufficient, you said it. But they are not insufficient in terms of number, but also in terms of specialization. There isn't a legal environment that would enable the production of enough engineers, and there is no legal environment to protect consumers.